Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing well. So today we are going to start one of the most important theory of educational psychology, that is Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development. So if you are preparing for B.Ed, M.Ed, C.Ted, UGC NET or any teaching examination, then this topic is extremely important because almost every year questions are asked from Piaget's theory. But today our objective is not just to memorize the four stages of Piaget's theory. Instead, we will try to understand how children actually think, how they learn, and why their thinking changes as they grow older. Because as a future teacher, it is not enough to know what children learn, we must also understand how they learn. So before we begin Piaget's theory, let me ask you a very simple question. Suppose I invite four children into this classroom. One is 1 year old baby, another is 5 year old child, then a 10 year old student, and finally a 16-year-old adolescent. Now I place a mobile phone, a storybook, a toy car, and a cube on the table. Do you think that all four children will interact with these objects in the same way? Of course not. The 1 year old baby may simply touch the object, shake them, or even put them into the mouth because that is the baby's natural way of exploring the environment. The 5 year old child may pick up the toy car and start pretending that it is driving on a highway. He or she may not even hold the mobile phone or may even hold the mobile phone and pretend to call someone. This is imagination at work. The 10-year-old child may start examining the cube carefully and think logically about how to solve it. The 16-year-old adolescent may not only solve the puzzle but also explain different strategies, compare method, and even discuss algorithm behind it. Now think carefully. Has the environment changed? No. Have the objects changed? Again, no. Then what has changed? Exactly. The way of thinking has changed. और इसी ग्रेजुअल चेंज इन थिंकिंग को साइकोलॉजिस्ट कॉग्निटिव डेवलपमेंट कहते हैं सो टुडेज लेक्चर इज ऑल अबाउट अंडरस्टैंडिंग दिस ब्यूटीफुल जर्नी ऑफ हाउ ह्यूमन थिंकिंग डेवलप फ्रॉम infancy to adulthood. Before understanding cognitive development, we first need to understand the word cognition. The word cognition comes from the Latin word cognosor, which means to know or to gain knowledge. In psychology, cognition refers to all the mental processes that help us acquire knowledge, understand information, remember experience, solve problem, make decision, and interact intelligently with the world around us. In simple words, whenever our brain is thinking, remembering, understanding, imagining, reasoning, or solving a problem, cognition is taking place. Many students think cognition simply means intelligent, but this is not correct. Cognition is actually much broader than intelligence. It includes many mental processes such as perception, attention, memory, thinking, reasoning, language, problem solving, decision making, imagination, creativity. These are all cognitive processes. Now, let me give you a simple real life example. Imagine that a child is learning how to ride a bicycle. Initially, the child carefully watches other children riding. Then the child listens to instruction given by parents. After that, the child remember how to balance. Whenever the bicycle fall, the child analyze the mistake, think about how to avoid it next time, and tries again. Can you see how many mental processes are involved here? The child is observing, the child is paying attention, the child is remembering, the child is making decision, the child is solving problem, the child is learning from mistake. All these mental activities together are called cognition. So cognition is not a single process, it is a combination of many mental functions working together. One important thing to remember is that cognition cannot be seen directly. हम किसी के ब्रेन के अंदर जाकर उसके थॉट्स को डायरेक्टली ऑब्जर्व नहीं कर सकते. Instead, psychologists understand cognition by observing a person's behavior, response, problem solving ability, and interaction with the environment. Now that we understand cognition, let's move to the next concept, that is cognitive development. Cognitive development refers to the gradual and systematic development of thinking, reasoning, memory, language, and problem solving abilities from infancy to adulthood. Notice one important word here, development. Development does not simply means gaining more knowledge. Many students think that cognitive development means increasing information. This is not correct completely. This is only partially correct. Piaget says something much deeper. He says children do not simply know more as they grow older. They actually begin to think differently. In other words, the quality of thinking changes, not just the quantity of knowledge. For example, an infant learns mainly through touching, seeing, hearing, tasting, and moving objects. A preschool child begins to use language, imagination, and symbols. A school-going child start thinking logically about real-life situations. Finally, an adult develop the ability to think abstractly, analyze hypothetical situations, and solve complex problems. So, cognitive development is actually a journey from simple thinking to complex thinking, from concrete thinking to abstract thinking, and from action-based learning to logical reasoning. और इसी ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन को पियाजे ने साइंटिफिकली एक्सप्लेन किया. Now some student may ask, ma'am, as future teacher, why is this theory so important for us? So suppose you are teaching mathematics to class 1 student. Can you directly teach algebra? No. Can you teach calculus to a 5-year-old child? Again, it's impossible. Why? Is the child unintelligent? Absolutely not. The child simply has not yet reached the cognitive stage required for abstract thinking. This is exactly what Piaget wanted teacher to understand. Every child learn according to his or her stage of cognitive development. If we teach concepts that are beyond the child development level, learning becomes difficult, frustrating, and meaningless. Therefore, an effective teacher should always ask 2 questions before entering the classroom. What can my student think at this age? And what kind of learning experience are suitable for their level of cognitive development? Once we understand these questions, our teaching automatically become more meaningful and child-centered. Now let us talk about the great psychologist behind this theory, that is Jean Piaget. Piaget was a Swiss psychologist and epistemologist born in 1896. Interestingly, Piaget did not begin his career as psychologist. He was originally a biologist. His scientific background influenced the way he studies children thinking. Rather than conducting any lab experiment, Piaget spent years observing children in natural setting. In fact, he carefully observed his own 3 children from infancy. He noted that how they played, how they explored objects, how they made mistakes, how they asked questions, and how their thinking gradually changes over time. From their observation, Piaget reached a revolutionary conclusion. He said, children are not miniature adults. Earlier psychologists believed that children simply knew less than adults. Piaget completely rejected this idea. According to him, children do not merely possess less knowledge. Instead, they possess a different way of thinking. This single idea completely transformed educational psychology. Even today, modern child-centered education, activity-based learning, experiential learning, and constructivist classroom are deeply influenced by Piaget's work.